Whenever I tell people that I live in the house where I was born, they are just amazed. I suppose it's unusual in this day and age when families are constantly moving. Actually, it seems just normal to me. It's just like reading a book from beginning to end, I guess, to have lived in one place, and it's taken me a long time to realize how special this is. How many people are there that live in the house where they were born? My grandmother, Albrecht Hefner, built the house in 1900, the same year that Grandpa Hefner died. Everything is so strong. It just has a strength through it. Down the cellar, those huge big slabs of stone that are used for the foundation. We've never had a storm yet that hurt the house.
My grandma is an exceptional, special woman. She's always had inner strength. She's always kind of been like a solid foundation. Keeping everything calm and together.
The bedrooms belonged to my parents and brothers, and then to my own children. And now when the grandchildren come home and they live and sleep in these same rooms, just has a feeling, a comfort, a peace to it.
It was always nice to have Grandma. She was always there, like she still is today, helping, doing whatever she can, just to keep the peace.
The kitchen was where our family met for all the 3 meals every day. That's where the stove was, so it was a warm spot that everybody kind of liked to stand around the stove to be warm in the winter when it was cold. That's where I would bathe the babies all the time because it was warm, and then they were ready to be nursed and put to sleep in the basket and by the stove.
To be able to sit around a wood-burning stove, it's not something you can do at too many other houses anymore.
Myself and many of ancestor leaned against that stove in the winter for warmth, and also just the smells from the kitchen, the baking, and having the meals there. And we generally ate as a family, so that was a time of instruction and maybe a reprimand once in a while, and also the camaraderie of the siblings and the parents.
Kitchen's the main room. When I come in from outside, that's where I go because Mom's got dinner on the table or supper on the table, and in the winter it's warm there, and in the summer it's usually cool.
The house has a warm, welcome feeling to it. And I think that is based upon the fact that, that's the way Grandma, Grandpa, that's the way they raised their family, welcomed people, whether it was family or guests.
I have 8 children. The oldest one is Daryl. Tina, the next one, is the oldest of the daughters. Next one is Mel. Next one is Juanita. David. After David was Mark, and he's deceased. He died of diabetes because he was living alone, he had nobody to help him. Next one is Cindy. Next is Evan. Then the youngest, Paul.
8 or 9 kids were in here most of the time when I was growing up, so it was a full house. You didn't get your own room.
Now the kids all look forward to coming back home from wherever they've gone to, who knows, all across the U.S., but it's still coming back home for them too.
The kids can come back to visit and bring as many friends or family or relatives as they need, and there's always a place for them either in one of the rooms or spread out on the living room carpet.
A lot of the items around here have probably been passed down from generation to generation, so that makes things more important and sentimental.
She started in this house when she was first married, lived in it for a short time with her parents, and then they bought another house and moved out. It's not like when a couple moves out today, they take everything with them, and just about all the other things that are historical significance from the Hafner side were just left on the place or in the house for the next succeeding generation to utilize.
So many pieces have the old cane rocking chair that belonged to my grandmother, the couch and the big armchair in there were wedding gifts of my parents. Of course, the china closet, that was gone for a while too after my parents left and built their own home, and that came back home again. It's kind of special. Even little kettles out of Mama's pantry that she had used came back home, and they're just so many things like that. This is where the piano always was when I was growing up as a little girl, until Mom and Dad moved to their new home. They took the piano with them, and so it was gone for probably about 20, 25 years. Then after Mom and Dad had died and Mama died, then the piano came back home. That dresser was not always in this house. It came from one of my aunts, and it had belonged to my grandmother, Dadisman. It was given to her as a wedding gift in 1869, I believe, and at that time they had paid $35 for it. This is all written on the bottom of one of the little drawers that is in the dresser.
I kind of felt like it belonged in the family, and being it had that history with it, that some strangers shouldn't have it. The table that Grandpa used, that he sat at when he was a boy, I mean, it's pretty awesome to think that that's the table that my grandpa sat at when he was a boy, or the dresser that, you know, his sister used way back in the 1860s, and it's still here.
I guess I feel they belong here because this is probably the last place that is part of the original Dadisman family, and the only place that they can really come to be meaningful to us. And my children now are beginning to realize, understand how much these things mean. So I'm just really happy to have them be a part of my house, and as long as I'm still here, and then then my children can take them to their homes and tell the history of them. My training growing up with my parents in the church, maybe that's why that God has given me these children, and they are the most important thing in my life, I guess, right now. I'm concerned about each one of them and their spouses and the grandkids, because I feel that that's my task, and I'm here where God wants me to be.
She was just a perfect example. Growing up, that one thing that really stuck in my mind, that I did not even know what gossip was, because I never heard it. Never heard it.
Mom was always there for us kids and would try to do whatever she felt would help any situation, and to also provide good guidance during our formative years and help give us a springboard for our own lives later on.
I guess having a strong foundation like we do under this house that Grandma built. What else can you be but strong too? The house, the ancestors, the faith, the children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren. They're each one precious. This is a special corner of the whole world to have been here all this time, and I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I'd like to think I could stay here and die here too.
Most people move once or twice or several times in their life, and we all got to stay in the same place for, well, our whole lives. I guess we kind of feel like we belong here.
When I go away for a while, I guess everybody says, oh, it's so good to come home, but to me it's more than that. It's the place where I belong.